I recently asked over 300 cruisers what they would do differently if they could redo and replan their first cruise. I loved the responses, and if you are a first-time cruiser, this video is a must-watch. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now recently, when I asked the question, what would you do differently if you could redo your first cruise, I got a lot of really great responses. And what I did, well, I noticed a lot of answers were coming up again and again and again, and I thought these were really the most valuable to share. So I did compile things. I have it divided up by 13 things that people would do differently if they could plan their first cruise again. If this is your first cruise, I absolutely know this video is going to be very helpful to you. And if you've already cruised before, please let me know what are the things that you would do differently. Please let me know in the comments below. Also completely random, but as I'm doing this video, I'm looking at my nail color. I just had it done. I'm going on a cruise next week, and I did want to have a brighter color. Even though it's winter here, it will be hot and sunny in the Caribbean. So let me know if you like this nail color as well. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give the video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Okay, let's get started. Now, the first thing that came up again and again and again was that people would choose a different cabin than they originally chose. And most of the time, this really was that people chose an inside cabin. And if they could redo it again, they would have gone with a balcony cabin. Now, many people said that they first took an inside cabin. It was kind of okay. But later on other cruises, future cruises, they chose a balcony cabin and they realized how much they absolutely loved it. They loved the ocean view, they loved the breeze, and they realized that it was hard to go back to an inside cabin. Now, also something else that came up when it came to cabins is that people would not book a cabin that is at the front of the ship. They just found that there was too much movement, especially when they also had an inside cabin. Now, for those booked on Alaska cruises, there were 3 things that came up that people would do differently. Now, the first thing had to do with the time of the year that they did go to Alaska. So people said they would have paid a little more to cruise in the midsummer and not so much at the very end of the season when it tends to be colder, rainier, and just not the absolute best weather. So if you are somebody who likes warmer weather, you don't like the cold and the rain, then definitely I think heed that advice and don't go towards the end of the season. Now, the other one had to do with packing for Alaska. People said they just didn't bring warm enough clothes. Yes, some people forgot to bring a jacket on their Alaska cruise. Other people just said they just underestimated how much warm clothes that they would need. And excursions. Alaska is definitely a place that people regretted not booking enough excursions. They said they just didn't see enough if they didn't book excursions. Definitely something to do is book those Alaska excursions. Number 3 is a common mistake made by first-time cruisers, and this did come up. This was that people made the mistake of not arriving 1 day early for the cruise. If they flew in on the same day, they said they were absolutely exhausted. It ruined their very first day of the cruise. Another thing that people also said was not booking direct flights, especially if they were flying in on the same day. Just made it very stressful, very exhausting. Number 4, people said they would have chosen a different cruise line, or in some cases they said they would have chosen a different cruise ship. But yes, even though they had a good time on their first cruise, they said that first cruise line, they just realized that another cruise line that they tried later was maybe a better fit. And this can happen with any cruise line. Maybe some people book a Carnival cruise for their first cruise, and it maybe just isn't the type of vacation that they really want. Maybe other people book a Celebrity or a Holland America cruise or a Cunard cruise for their first cruise, and they would have preferred maybe a Royal Caribbean experience. So there really is a cruise ship and a cruise line for everybody. But doing your research, I think based on these comments, that is really something very important for your first cruise. Now, I'm curious if you've gone on a cruise before. Was your first cruise, that first cruise ship and cruise line, the right fit for you? Please let me know in the comments below. Number 5, getting the beverage package, or in some cases, not getting the beverage package. So this, of course, is a case of it really does depend. But some people did say they didn't get the beverage package and gosh, they just spent way too much money on drinks on a cruise. It would have been better if they did get it, and they definitely would do that differently on a future cruise. But other people said that they did get the beverage package and it really kind of wasn't worth it for them because they calculated that you need to drink about 8 drinks a day every day to make that cruise beverage package worth it. And of course, it does depend on the cruise line and the price, but when you consider how many ports you have and how long you're going to be on the ship, it may or may not be worth it for you. So that was something good that a lot of people brought up. Number 6, they would explore the ship, they would see more shows, they would participate in more activities, and generally feel a little less shy. Now, funny story, my parents, when they went on their second cruise, they told us that actually on day 6, they realized there was an entire section of their cruise ship that was for adults, a beautiful pool area. They said it was absolutely gorgeous, but they only explored the ship on day 6 out of a 7-day cruise. So they absolutely regretted missing out on that. Now, something else that people said had to do with the food on board. And some people didn't realize that in the main dining room, you could order more than one dish. And that's definitely something that they said that they've done differently on future cruises. Number 7, if they could do it differently, people would skip the art shows and skip the jewelry shows. They said all those port shopping talks, a bit of a waste of time. They wouldn't do it again. Number 8. Now, number 8 had to do with packing, and a lot of people had a lot to say about this. So I grouped these into 3 main topics. So a lot of people said they definitely would pack less if they could do it again. And a lot of people are on a continuous journey on this, myself included. I am an overpacker. I'm trying to get a little bit better, but I do like to have my options. Other people said they packed too last minute when it came to their first cruise. They were running around super hectic in the last minute, the last night before the cruise, didn't even sleep before embarkation day. That is definitely something that they would do differently on a future cruise. And other people said they made the mistake of not unpacking on the first day of the cruise. Number 9, shore excursions. If they could do it differently, people said they would have booked more excursions. A lot of people said they thought that they could do this on their own, but they just didn't see as much as they thought. And they definitely would, if they could do it again, book more excursions. Now I have 4 more, and the last 3 are the biggest. But before we get there, number 10, people said they would not use their phone. If they could do it again, they would not use their phone when they were on the cruise ship because they did find out about international calling and texting charges. Big bill. Okay, the biggies. Number 11, not bringing anything for seasickness. That is something that people would never do again. They say that they would bring a patch, maybe for behind the ear. They would bring over-the-counter medication, so that could include Dramamine or Bonine, and they would bring sea bands. They said they underestimated how they would feel on a cruise ship, that they did get seasick. And it definitely is something unpleasant. And when somebody else on the ship gave them something, it finally did get a little better. But most people said they would take something early on. If you feel any seasickness, this is something to note. Don't wait for it to get a little bit worse. Take it right at the very beginning or even beforehand if you think that that is a possibility. Number 12, a lot of people, like a lot of people, said if they could do anything differently, it would be to cruise with different people than they cruised with on their first cruise. So this could have been the in-laws. This could have been family members. This could have been an ex-husband, an ex-boyfriend, an ex-wife. And this also could have been a group of friends. So be very careful who you do go on a cruise with, because this can make or break your cruise vacation. Number 13. Now, please let me know if you agree with this one. It is that people said that if they could do it differently, they would not book a short cruise again. They would book a longer cruise. So people who said their first cruise was 3, 4, and even 5 days said they absolutely regretted it. The time that they got on the ship, started to have fun, and it was time to get off. And they said definitely a cruise that's 7 days or more is the way to go for a first cruise. Now, please let me know if you're going on a cruise for the first time. Let me know in the comments below. And if you've cruised before, please let me know what would you do differently if you could to redo your first cruise. And if you agree with these or don't agree, of course. Now, I definitely have some things that I would do differently if I could redo my past cruises, and I actually talk about it in this video where I talk about the embarrassing rookie mistakes that I have made on past cruises. So if you think that you would enjoy that, please do check that out next. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.